All right, let's talk about 3 times that I manifested complete and total miracles, quantum leaps, instantaneous, not even overnight, just instantaneous miracles. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you the commonalities among these 3 instances where I created miracles so that you can implement it in your life to create miracles. And let me tell you something. I did not have to be perfect. And that's what actually keeps drawing me back to these 3 instances because I wasn't necessarily as perfectly in alignment as you would think that you need to be. And that's amazing. And I'm going to explain that too. I'm going to run through these as quickly as I can. So if you want to ask me more questions or get more details about it, just join my University of Magnetism where I go live every week. I'm going live today to answer your questions. So if you wanted to get deeper on any of these topics I talk about on my channel, that's where you would do it. Plus, I'm starting a new course this month. Been teaching you guys about manifesting supernatural life, love, and money in my University of Magnetism. And it's been going insanely well. It's been drawing really bigger teachings than ever before, really bigger things than ever before. So anyways, that's what we're going to start doing today. All right. 3 miracles. What's the first one? The first one is when I lost my keys. So many years ago, I think this was, well over maybe 15 years ago. I have brothers and sisters in Miami. This is when I used to live in Miami in South Beach, back when I used to drink and party. I don't drink anymore. I've been not drinking for like, I don't know, almost a decade, but I used to drink and party in Miami. I have, like I said, brothers and sisters down there. So apparently one of my brothers has a Halloween party every year, and he's been living in Miami for a long time. So he has a lot of really good longtime friends down there. So apparently I had attended this Halloween party in Miami at my brother's place. And the next morning, now, again, this is my brother's party. So I felt very, very safe with everyone there, regardless if I knew them or not, because I just knew that I was safe. But the next day I awakened to realize that I had completely lost my keys. They were nowhere to be found. So I proceeded to help them clean up the place, the after party cleaning and stuff. And that's funny, Gisela, that's funny. That's a coincidence, synchronicity. But I could not find my keys, nor could anyone else. And so what ended up happening, now I'm going to tell you what happened, and then I'm going to tell you, like, at the very end of the video, I'm going to tell you what the common feelings and thoughts were that actually allowed these miracles to happen, even though I wasn't seemingly in alignment. Okay, so stay tuned till the end of the video. So what ended up happening is my brother suggested that I go home with one of his friends, and there was multiple people there. So like, again, these are like long-term friends of my brother. I know that I'm safe. And I went home with him to his place, to a place I've never been to before, people that I've never met before. And he had a really nice place. So I go in there and I'm like just feeling kind of disheartened and distraught and confused and just not really just going with the flow, really. What else could I do? Lost my keys. So I sit down on the couch and I'm like, oh, I need my keys. And I look on the table in front of me and I just explode with intense happiness and excitement because there are my keys on the table in front of me at this person's house that I don't even know, that I've never been to before, and there are my keys. And so that is nothing short of a miracle, period. Like, think about the trajectories here. The future reality of me not finding my keys is so vastly very different from the reality of me actually finding them, and I manifested it and I found them. There's nothing that happens in your life that is not manifested. So obviously I manifested the profound synchronistic finding of my keys just by following the flow. And then one of the people there was like, "Oh, we thought that it was your brother's girlfriend's keys, and we brought them here, and that's why." So anyways, that's the first example of how I manifested a miracle. This is even so long ago that I was just, barely into manifesting at this time, barely really, definitely not where I am with it now. So the second example of how I manifested a miracle without even needing to be perfect, without being perfect at all, is when my daughter was born, and she the doctor called me up and told me that she had a bacteria, that they found bacteria in her blood, which translation of what this really means is your daughter is dying right now. So bring her to the emergency room right now. So that's what that meant. So she would have been dead. If that was true, she would have been dead in a matter of 1 to 3 days, something like that. Okay. So she had just been born, maybe like 1 or 2 days prior. So I had an emergency bag already packed. We were exhausted, but we went immediately to the emergency room. They immediately proceeded to do spinal tap, which is like completely horrible, the most horrible thing ever, but we could do nothing about it. So surrender again. And so here we are, and I'm taking care of my daughter, who could be, the prognosis is unknown. We don't even know what the bacteria is. While we're there waiting, they're growing the bacteria in a culture to see what the thing is that they're even deal with. They immediately placed her on three different IV antibiotics, which is, a lot for anyone, let alone an infant. And I'm just in this place where there's literally nothing that I can do. And I'm taking care of her, and I just can't entertain like what this means if she's seriously injured or hurt, or if she dies from this. But I know all these things can happen. And one thing that I knew, because I was a little bit more into manifesting at this point, a little bit more experienced. And so one thing that I did is I told my husband at the time, I said, don't tell anyone. And I didn't tell anyone. I was in the public eye, but I didn't tell anyone that she was sick. And I told him, don't tell anyone. I'm going to tell your mom, tell my mom. That's it. And then maybe two good friends that I knew that I was kind of like working with at the time. And long story short, what ended up happening is the doctor came in and told us that she was completely fine, never sick, because the bacteria that they found in her blood was in fact not a bacteria in her blood. It was a false positive that they got from a contaminated blood sample. So first, I'm in this reality where she could very well die, and this is like very, very dire situation. And then I manifest a reality where they walk in and she was never sick at all. Okay. So another miracle that I manifested, and I was not feeling perfect during this time. That's the important part here. Again, wait until the end of the video, because I'm going to tell you what the factors are that made these things happen, that made the miracles happen or set them into place. Third miracle, I've told you guys this so many times about the time when I turned a hurricane. Again, I did this twice, but the example that I'm going to use is the first time that I did it, because the first time was the time when I didn't really know that I was actually doing it. The second time, it was all right. I knew exactly what was going on. I did it on purpose. And then I even changed like the way that it dissipated. Like instead of turning it, I dissipated it because I didn't want it to injure anyone else. But the first time, I hadn't done this before. And there was supposed to be this level 5 hurricane coming for us, and it was all over the news, and everybody was getting water. It was like just apocalypse all around us, like water coming off the shelves. You couldn't find propane, stocking up on batteries and flashlights and this kind of thing. It was like, it was really there. It was happening all over, and everybody else was doomsdaying and believing in it. And I was trying to go through the motions, but I just realized that, again, I couldn't really feel this reality happening. I couldn't really feel into doomsday. I couldn't really fathom it. And when I realized, at this time, I really did know a lot more about manifesting. And when I realized that I wasn't a vibrational match to it, I realized that there was no way it could happen. There's no way it can happen because I can't feel it. I just can't reach that it just can't happen. And I just was like, during this time, I also was not perfect, by the way. I had moments where I was like, what do I know? What if? And basically what it ended up coming to, and this is important, one of the things that ended up coming to was like, well, if it happens, it doesn't freaking matter, right? It doesn't, I don't know. But overall, I just knew that it couldn't happen because I wasn't vibrationally aligned with it. All right, so here's the things. The question for me and for you and for everybody, we all want to know how to transcend time and space, how to quantum leap, how to make these miracles happen very, very, very fast and instantaneously. Also, we know that it's possible because of the fact that this is all based not on time-space continuum, but on the fact of parallel realities and the fact that you're jumping from parallel reality to parallel reality billions of times per second. And so literally anything is possible. And there's no past, present, or future. It's all one thing in this moment being created now. So literally there's no circumstance that is, neither is there a circumstance that matters. It's all based on what you believe and what you vibrate. Okay. But these three miracles are surrounded by very interesting vibrational experiences on my part that I wouldn't really think would be part of creating miracles because, like I said, I wasn't perfect any of these three times, and yet I still manifested a quantum leap complete miracle, like hurricane gone overnight, daughter never even sick to begin with, and keys found in a place I've never been, like with people that I've never even met before. Here are the things that were in common among each one of these instances that I think played a key part in creating the manifestation of the miracle itself. So number one is, in each one of these cases, although I mentally knew that there was a negative option out there available that could very well happen, reasonably logically speaking, this negative outcome could happen, I really wasn't able to vibrationally fathom the negative outcome. I really wasn't able to experientially entertain it. I didn't really know what was over there. I couldn't reach or fathom or conceive of what would happen really if I couldn't find my keys. What would happen really if my daughter was seriously hurt? And what would happen really if this hurricane level 5 came through and destroyed everything like it was supposed to? I just couldn't reach that, conceive of it, or fathom it. So therefore, I did not entertain it. From an experiential, frequential point of view, right? Feeling is a keyhole into the trajectory of the reality that you're creating. So if you're not feeling it, the trajectory is not being created. You can conceive of something mentally, like every single day, ever since I moved into this house that has stairs, every single day, I mentally think about that I could fall down the stairs every day. And it's never happened, nor am I afraid of it. I don't feel into it. I'm not actually afraid of it. Right? So there's a huge difference between thinking something mentally and entertaining it vibrationally. What you feel tells you what the trajectory is going to be. That's what you call your intuition. Oh, I just had a feeling about that. Oh, I don't know how I knew. I just knew. That's a feeling. And so that I had in common each time, that I wasn't able to feel or fathom the doomsday, the negative outcome, even though mentally I knew it could potentially be. Another thing that was in common among these three miracles, that probably if you want to create a miracle, it's probably a good idea for you to do too, is the element of surrender was there. The circumstances were so all-encompassing and overwhelming that it literally put me in this place where there was literally nothing that I could do. Like there was nothing that I could do but bring her to the hospital and allow all of this to happen and allow them to poke and prod and stab her and whatever. There was nothing that I could do but go with the friend that my brother told me to go with. I had nothing else to do, no choice, and nothing to do except be in this place where everybody's saying the hurricane is coming and try to gather whatever materials that I could gather so that I could feel like if it happened, at least I would have water or batteries, you know? So although I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. This is essentially what played out. So I went with the flow from a place of surrender. I did not try to push against it. I did not try to fight it or fight fire with fire or work very hard or freak out or try to basically use my own mental human means in order to try to force something to happen. I did not allow myself to get into a mode of freaking out apocalyptic doomsday. I did not allow my ego to take over, thinking that the world was going to be over and just allowing it to act out in insanity. I kept myself in a state of surrender, which was, surrendering to the motions, being in this place where I was, accepting that as gracefully as I possibly could, going through the motions, but not believing in any negative outcome, not believing that I was doomed, not entertaining or condemning myself to any negative outcome, just being, really. And I just released a video yesterday on YouTube about manifesting moment by moment and how that's such an important, being in flow, which today we're calling it surrender. Being in flow is a really, really important part of manifesting anything that you want, transcending time and space. And so that's kind of what this ends up being is it was a surrender. It was a moment to moment surrender, a moment to moment being. And let me tell you a secret about being in your end. Even though in these three instances, maybe the hurricane, I kind of did know it towards the end. I knew it so much that I told someone that I knew who was very reality based. I was like, yeah, that's hurricane's not going to happen. Not in my neighborhood. And this was literally like the night before, the day before. And he's like, oh yeah, okay. Well, we'll see about that. And I was like, yeah, we'll see about that. I was like super confident at the end. But with the other two, with the keys and with my daughter, I was not confident about those. I was a whole lot of nothing about those. I was a whole lot of not knowing anything besides that I was there moment to moment and going with the flow. But here's the thing, when you are in your end, you will be able to go with the flow and go through the circumstantial motions, whatever they may be, in full and total acceptance of them. Because you know and feel that you're just going through the motions. It doesn't scare you. You know your end, and you know the end is going to happen no matter what these motions are that you're going through now. So for example, when I was buying this house and I was manifesting it, I was manifesting being in there by Christmas. And I went into the bank and I knew what I was doing the whole time. I went into the bank and the banker says, we might not make it in by Christmas. We might not make the deadline. And I said, oh, okay, well, we're just going to try. We're just going to try. And I walked out of his office and I said, he doesn't know who the fuck he's talking to, because I knew what was going to happen. I knew that we were going to be in there by Christmas. And I knew it so much and so well that him saying that did not disturb me at all. It did not trigger me at all. It did not make me feel doubt at all. It actually made me feel more confident. And I knew my end so much that I was actually able to go through the motions with him and pretend to be normal. And it didn't bother me. So this is kind of, a lot of people ask questions about, well, how are you supposed to act like, when a thing happens? And it's like, you act like if you are in your end and you know that your end is already done, you're going to act like it doesn't matter. It's already done. So none of these things between here and there, nothing that happens, nothing anybody says is going to have any effect on you or bother you, because the whole time that they're talking or the things are happening in your mind, you're like, yeah, I know my outcome. So like with your person, for instance, they can be in a bad fucking mood. They can be saying whatever they want. But if you know how they're going to feel in 10 minutes or tomorrow or the next day, and that's your end and you just know it, what they're doing right now is not going to bother you. That's what it means to be in your end. And so even though these 3 miracle examples are kind of a little bit different than really knowing your end, they do demonstrate the moment to moment being surrendered, which is a demonstration of faith. Not entertaining doomsday and instead just surrendering to the moment, not needing to know who, what, when, where, how, but just being in the moment, being in the flow and surrendering to it. That is faith enough to create a miracle, apparently. So action is really, really, really important. Being able to take action just in the moment without knowing anything, demonstrating that faith in action. That is how you ground down miracles into the physical, through your action. This is why leaps of faith are very important. And it's kind of talked about, and we kind of know that, and that's not really new. But a lot of people just, try to create things in their mind, but they don't really take inspired action on it. It's like the action is, what would you be doing if you knew that this thing was true? Right? If you knew that your end was coming. So when it comes to your specific person, a lot of people kind of take this wrong, because they're like, oh, well, then I should just call him up and tell him how I feel if I know it's all going to be okay. No, if you knew that he really loved you, and if you knew that, like, if your end is you guys being happily married and going off into the sunset together, if that was your end and if that was already done, you wouldn't have to call him to convince him of anything or to tell him whatever it is that you're about to say. You're doing that out of insecurity. So a lot of people are not even really able to gauge what this even means. And so it's just kind of like practice, 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 and don't try to take action prematurely, like that big jump of reaching out to your person or whatever it is. Take the small steps, do the reinforcing steps, right? Like, do the steps that if you really believed in this stuff, what would you do? Because I noticed that a lot of people in the community, like, they're like, oh, I believe blah, blah, blah. But the stories that you tell, it really reveals what you truly believe, So anyways, if you have more questions about manifesting, transcending time and space, quantum leaping, manifesting faster, manifesting, your supernatural love, supernatural money, supernatural life. Oh, and yeah, I still do specific person. Come and bring your questions today. I'm going to go live at 2 p.m. EST in my University of Magnetism. And also you can get started on my courses. I got a couple courses that you're going to gain access to immediately when you join. I have different tiers for different skill levels when it comes to manifesting. Tier 3 is the mentorship program, and tier 1 is fundamentals. So love you guys. Comment below and tell me what you want me to talk about next time. I'll see you in the next video.